I'm just saying.
Wrong. You're wrong. There's a man out there for him. That's perfect for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's gonna have a problem with that one.
No, he's gonna find a man that's not in prison.
Welcome. Unorthodox reactions, unorthodox intros, cold open, all the way. Today we have for you. Wait, what is this channel called? Wake your ass up.
Welcome, guys. Welcome back to another Unorthodox reaction. This is another Unorthodox intro. We're back again with another reaction.
Weird history.
Oh, you just cut me off mid-sentence then.
I thought you were sleeping.
No, but that's disrespectful because when you were speaking, I was sleeping. When I'm speaking,
oh, that wasn't disrespectful.
No, it wasn't. Because that was me being quiet and respecting your time.
Oh, my bad.
Exactly.
Bad.
Exactly.
Sorry, carry on.
Exactly. So, guys, we're back again with another reaction. We hope you've enjoyed our last couple of reactions. This time, our reader will take over. What is this reaction called?
So, oh, you finished. Weird history. How Victorian-era Britons hired child gangs to do their bidding. Okay, you can wait now. Yeah. Let's get it.
The Industrial Revolution brought the world
That's sort of a twist,
technological marvels like the spinning jenny, the coke-fueled furnace, and the steam-powered locomotive.
This sounds too
It also brought us
informative.
flash houses, pickpockets, and roving gangs of child thieves.
Yeah, it is.
Today, we're talking about the child
pickpockets.
gangs of the Industrial Revolution. But before we
you
get
seen them
started,
child
be sure to
pickpockets
subscribe to
and-
the Weird History channel and let us
Subscribe.
know in the comments below what
Us,
Victorian-era
not them.
topics you would like to hear about.
Comment.
And
Roy,
maybe
Roy,
them, but
now we
us
have them
first.
reading right with them teapot lids.
I really like that song, you know, in Oliver Twist's thing.
What song?
When they're stealing, when they're learning to steal. Have you
I
never
just
seen it?
told you I've never watched it.
Oh, that's
So I'm not sure what song you're on about.
Before industrialization, most boys were ushered into formal apprenticeships. But technology and a new economy eliminated the old ways of life. New industries disrupted families as men went off to factory towns to look for work, often leaving their children behind to fend for themselves. So it was no wonder that
They
many
were
children
not
went out
wearing
looking
condoms.
for parental figures. It was a matter of emotional and, more urgently, physical necessity. Unfortunately, many of these children wound up in the protective care of so-called ladsmen, who
Happened
taught
to their
them how to
moms.
steal in exchange for taking a cut of profits. More often than not, the ladsman's cut hovered around 100% or more.
Wait, what? They get everything.
Hey, it's not my rules, it's their rules. It's my rules.
Good boy. Good boy.
In his novel, Oliver Twist, Charles Dickens expertly crafted a tale from his first-hand knowledge of the child gangs working the streets of London. Just like in the novel, real child gangs generally worked under the auspices of a Fagin-esque
God
ladsman.
knows.
But as bad as Fagin was, real ladsmen were often much, much worse, forcing their wards into harder crimes or even child prostitution. But if morals or basic human decency weren't an issue, being a ladsman could be a very lucrative career.
Put them all back in the book!
Charles King was one such ladsman, who once made the 2021 equivalent of $34,000 in just 1 week from a single 13-year-old pickpocket. Of course, even if you were the best among them, you'd still have to be cool with referring to yourself as a ladsman. Which sounds like a fan club for the big boy restaurants, but hey, that was some serious shilling. Speaking of child exploitation, rather than letting your kid join a free roving street gang, a popular alternative for Victorian parents was to send them off to work. It was take your kid to work day, but leave them there in 19th century London,
Oh,
where
God,
children
no.
as young as 8 years old were made to work grueling
yeah,
hours
like
under horrific
Tim
and
Seaton.
hazardous
Yeah.
conditions in factories and mines. Minors being minors. These child workers
I
were
know, I think
expected
those
to
are
work the
different.
same as their adult counterparts.
Those are more of like orphans
Yeah.
than actual kids with parents.
Upwards of 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And it wasn't uncommon for regular workplace accidents to involve the loss of wages, limbs,
And
or
I was
even
gonna
life.
say,
Fortunately, in 1878, Parliament got their act
Imagine
together,
losing your
no pun
hand as a
intended,
kid.
and passed the Factory Act, officially barring the employment of any worker under the age of 10. So, baby steps, figuratively and literally.
crime and punishment.
Child pickpockets constantly lived on the edge. If caught by the police, children
might
as young
watch it
as
just
7
again
were
now.
routinely tried as adults. In fact, between 1801 and 1836, 103 children under the age of 14 were sentenced to death.
The guillotines.
Fortunately, every single one of those executions was eventually commuted to lesser sentences on account of the child's age. One thing you could say about Victorian London was that it was surprisingly progressive. Both boys and girls were sentenced to hard labor for relatively petty crimes. Child thieves were often sent to prison yards to break stones or push wooden wheels to power mills. To the best of our knowledge, not one of those kids grew up to be Conan the Barbarian. Other children as young as 10 were regularly shipped off to a burgeoning English penal colony. British convicts, including children convicted of picking pockets, were sent to Australia for 7 or 12-year stints. And in some cases, their Australian vacations were extended for life. Once settled in their new land, the convicted children would enjoy a bloomin' onion, toss a boomerang, and explore the Great Barrier Reef. Not really. But they were locked in chains and forced into hard manual labor. Oy. In some cases, these kids were forced to build the prisons in which they'd spend the rest of their lives. And they couldn't even build the prisons to their own 6.
Imagine being like, going to prison as a kid, and then that's your whole life. That's what you're gonna spend the rest of your life. A life sentence as
that
like
happens,
a what,
you know.
15, 14-year-old.
There was a kid, he was like 9, he killed his sister, and he went to prison for that.
Life is never gonna know anything but them four walls. Like, it's gonna get to a point where he doesn't even remember being outside no more.
He doesn't know what it's like.
That's crazy.
He's never been with a woman.
That's also a thing. That's actually also a thing. That's mad.
And I see women respectfully, like, you've never been married.
Some lucky juvenile thieves, aka those not sentenced to death or
Well, like
worse
being
to
with a man.
Australia,
That's what he
no
wants
offense
to do.
Australia,
Well,
were
I don't
simply
think he has a
publicly
problem
whipped
with
or
that one.
flogged. Public whippings were quite the
I'm just saying. Wrong.
You're wrong.
You
There's
know
a man
that's
out there
right.
for him. That's perfect for him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's gonna have a problem with that one.
No, he's gonna find a man that's not in prison.
How?
He's gonna
He's 9. What kind of connections does he have? Ain't nobody know him no more.
make plans.
To what, escape?
No, okay. Yeah, that would be tough, man.
Exactly.
No one actually knows him anymore.
No one knows unless he has like actual
got his mum.
other relatives that don't
Mom.
hate him no more.
Yeah, he's got his mom, but she don't really talk to him.
event in Victorian London. Ironically, instead of being deterrents for would-be thieves, they were hotspots for other pickpockets
Oh,
due to the
whipping's
large crowds
such
and
like a
chaotic nature of
cruel way
public
of
violence,
punishment.
Yes,
especially against
evil, isn't
kids.
it?
Sounds
But
painful as
whippings
hell.
weren't the only popular stomping grounds of child thieves. Racetracks, fairs, markets, and even funerals were also quite popular with the kids.
Dang.
In 1735,
You know,
a
that's
gang
for
of
the
young
wicked.
pickpockets disrupted a funeral service at Whitechapel Church by running in and yelling, "Fire!" Mourners panicked to escape the building, and tons of pockets were picked in the ensuing chaos.
Okay, so this is
That's
not
smart.
funny, but at the same time, I just kind of thought of it and I was like, it's it's not funny, but it just made me laugh. But it's like, imagine.
bro. Pause. We've been recording with this on the whole time.
Fun times were had by
Back to
all.
Spoil the road,
In the
don't spare the
1860s,
child.
Bow
What?
Street Magistrates Court abolished the whipping of children, but there was no kumbaya change of heart. The court reversed course, not because of some newfound humanitarianism,
Is that a
but because
museum
the screams
somewhere?
of the children were disturbing the peace, and they received too many complaints from the locals. Hey, buddy,
That's terrible. Imagine them saying, "Alright, we're
We're
gonna
stopping because
stop-
you guys are too loud.
we're gonna stop the punishment of whipping." Not because of the child's hurt or
Not 'cause it's
anything.
bad.
You're just too loud.
Exactly,
You're just
not 'cause
too
it's
loud.
bad. No, we'd never do that.
It's just disturbing people.
You look, people are trying to revise, man.
you keep your floggings quieter. Child thieves were often homeless, so they turned to so-called flash houses for shelter. Flash houses were not some new viral video sensation, but public buildings or pubs where criminals would keep caches of stolen property. Flash houses had seedy reputations for housing drunks and hardened criminals, along with their child thieves. Think of a flash house as a Victorian Mos Eisley. It wasn't uncommon for 30 children, boys and girls, all under the age of 16, to be living under the same flash house roof. Police referred to flash houses as nurseries of crime, since they often served as incubators for child thieves to segue into harder, more dangerous crimes, like kidnapping, housebreaking, and even cold, calculated murder. In the mid-1800s, an investigative journalist named James Greenwood wrote that children at the time believed stealing was morally just. They have an ingrained conviction that it is you who are wrong, not them, he wrote. In the eyes of the children, their actions couldn't even be described as stealing. Greenwood reported that the children believed the quote, "You are wrong in the first place in appropriating all the good things the world affords, leaving none for them but what they steal." You may not agree, but at least they had a clear ethos.
Street cred.
But it
Every
wasn't
kid's
all
on
about
street
making a
cred.
living, or even a moral point. Some child thieves were in it just for the thrill, or perhaps that was just an added bonus. Children often bragged about their activities, including one young orphan who told a reporter that picking pockets is the daringest thing that a boy can do. Now that's adorable. Stealing wasn't the only option for the homeless and hungry children of the Industrial Revolution. They could always test the generosity of their community by begging. Of course, begging itself was illegal, and a crime for which even a
Wait,
small child
really?
could be thrown into jail. Children convicted of
Really?
begging were at the very bottom of the prison hierarchy.
They've got no choice,
Child
then.
beggars were the constant butt of jeers and ridicule. It was
So in a way, it would
See,
actually
you
be more
steal,
beneficial to try and gain street cred by becoming,
A thief.
yeah.
common
That's
belief
terrible.
among child thieves that stealing was necessary to
How-
build character.
what is this guy
Beggars
doing
were
that
thought
he
to be
doesn't
morally
notice?
weak,
The
and
guy
that
just-
ridicule often meant that the next time that child got locked up, it wouldn't be for begging. Children of the working class in 19th century London had it rough. If they weren't working alongside their parents in factories all day, they were most likely out on the street, in jail, in Australia, or in a disease-ridden flash house. Speaking of the disease, even though the first successful
Oh my
smallpox
God.
vaccine was administered in London almost 100 years prior,
Oh, that
the Great
sounds-
Pandemic of
Yeah.
1870 sent smallpox cases soaring. The panic that followed led Parliament to enact the Vaccination Act of 1871, which made vaccination mandatory. Parents who did not vaccinate their children were penalized with fines or imprisonment. Unfortunately,
right.
even with these precautions, between 1870 and 1980, smallpox went on to claim the lives of an additional 500 million people.
Dang, 500. From the school of life
In
to actual
1880, the
school.
Education Act introduced compulsory schooling for children ages 5 to
Oh,
12,
God, look at
but
that
it was
depressing
not
ass
popular
atmosphere.
with everyone. Many factory owners feared the loss of revenue with the removal of their never-ending source of cheap
You
labor.
wouldn't it? Because
However,
like, you
with
don't
this
have to pay a child as much as adults, so it's
That's
like
what they
a
just said, cheap labor.
more viable option.
simple mathematics and English that the children acquired, factory owners soon realized that when the children returned to the factories at the age of 13, they were now skilled laborers who could read and make measurements. Profits went up, and the education put the children right back where
Yeah.
they came from. But at
So,
least now, the children of the
just
poorer classes had
extra
viable
steps, but
alternatives
you end
to
up in the
thievery or
same
jail.
place.
And with the knowledge they received, they had a chance, albeit a small one, in upward social and economic mobility in Victorian England.
Should
So
we
what
watch
do
any
you
videos
think?
today?
What
'Cause
would
I
you
haven't
do
watched
if
it,
you were a poor
so I
child
don't
in the
mind
Industrial
watching it.
Revolution?
Oh,
Let
no.
us know in
Undertones.
the comments below, and while you're at it, check
Oh,
out some
watch
of
it
these
later.
other videos.
Yeah,
Tonight?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Wait.
I
was gonna say-
done.
All right, guys, that was actually pretty decent to be fair.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Bro, I don't know what happened. I'm not. People can probably watch this, but I don't know, bro. I was trying to adjust my thing. Sleep hit me in the middle of that video, but it wasn't because the video was dark.
It was interesting. It was a good video.
Bro,
I paid attention.
I don't know what happened. I think the air in here is limited. I'm just.
A highlight is there were child thieves and they had no option but to steal because their fathers were deadbeats. That's
It's
it.
not just their fathers, bro.
The parents were deadbeats.
Yeah.
And society.
You want to always blame the dad.
Yeah.
It's your fault as a mother. You're not a good enough mother.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm a house husband. Anyway, guys, this has been another Unorthodox reaction, another
Cold.
Unorthodox outro.
Cold.
We hope you've enjoyed. If you're still here with us to the end, we appreciate you. If you're not and you left early, we still appreciate you. Make sure you guys stay blessed and look after your people. It's another quick outro. We don't want to waste your time. Peace. Stay blessed.
In a bit.